wish you were here. Today, there are legends and there are legends. And then there's Cliff Richard.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for
My
coming
pleasure.
along.
No, it's fantastic. And what a lovely audience. And not only the ones we look at, but there are actually, they have an audience in the studio that's hidden behind.
They're everywhere. They're hanging from the rafters. Yeah. They're hidden behind the set. 35 years of top 10 hits.
Yes.
45 million singles sold at the last count. 56 albums. You filled Wembley Stadium for 2 nights with 72,000 people. They obviously still want to see you every single day, but why do you still want to do it?
Well, I mean, I like singing. I mean, I've always liked it. And ever since I first saw Elvis, I wanted to be a singer, so that when the chance came to actually become a singer, it was too good a thing to pass up. And I consider myself really lucky to have survived those early years, because there was some pretty hot competition, mostly from America, but there were some good people here too, like Marty Wilde and Billy Fury. And somehow, me, the greasy slob, I survived it all somehow. I've seen old footage of me, and I was really pathetic.
Oh no, he wasn't.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you think otherwise.
You're fishing for a compliment. Here we can see you now. There you are on the monitors, looking a little bit different. A little bit different.
That is a chubby slob.
Now, weren't you? Isn't there a tale that you were highly offended actually when you were called chubby by Minnie Caldwell on Coronation Street?
It was a great shock to me, because I didn't realise that I had actually become chubby. You know, when you become famous and you've been poor, that you start to eat a lot and you eat good, you know, and you eat often. And I went to the States to tour, and I came back and I must have put on about 1.5 stone. But you know, you don't recognise it in yourself. And suddenly I got this honorary mention, and I quite liked the idea that they wanted to mention me, but she said, "I love that chubby Cliff Richard." And I thought, chubby Cliff Richard?
How dare
I'm supposed to be Mr. Sexy, hey. And so I went immediately on a diet, all those years ago.
But that was in 1961. I mean, you've been on that diet for 33 years now. That's dedication, huh?
Well, it is, yes, but if you want to look a particular way or be a particular way, then you have to work at it, particularly as my metabolism seems to want to put weight on.
Right.
And so I went down to 1 meal a day. I've just, for the first time in my career, tried to put some weight on.
Right. This was
but not fat weight.
Weren't you trying to put weight on for the Heathcliff part that you were going to do?
Yes, I was going to be Heathcliff next month, and we had to postpone it because we just ran short of time. We were running about, not that late really, about 6 weeks late, but because I was doing Heathcliff in these huge, great venues like the SECC and you know, the big venues at NEC in Birmingham, I couldn't get any replacement dates. If we started 6 weeks late, they said, fine, you can do it 6 weeks late, but we can't give you any other dates at the end to fill out the time. And I thought, well, it's no good doing this for just a month.
Heathcliff, though, was considered a very unusual choice for somebody like you, somebody with a very clean-cut image. And I read somewhere that you said that you were going to explore your darker side. What can possibly be Cliff Richard's darker side?
All of it. Well, you see, I don't know. I always get the feeling that people get really kind of muddled up, and actors don't help, really. I think actors really should know exactly. I'm saying that because quite a lot of the time it's from the acting fraternity that you get the feeling, well, Cliff Richard can't possibly play this. He's the man that smiles while singing Living Doll.
Yeah.
But then they obviously don't know that I also play the part in Devil Woman. And when I do Devil Woman, I look as demonic as I can be. Yes. And with the aid of lighting and stuff, and just the way that you feel for those moments, you can be something else for a period of time. And you know, when you think, I mean, people have stabbed Julius Caesar over and over again on stage. Really nice men, really nice people who just happen to be actors, and for that period of time show their venom and spite and can stab someone. And I say, give me a knife and give me a part in Shakespeare and I'll stab someone, and I won't smile and show my teeth and I won't sing Living Doll.
So Heathcliff has been postponed for a few months. You're going on tour.
Yes.
This is the 35 years of top 10 hits tour. You're doing all your hits.
Top 5 hits.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. I mean, it's just that when I decided to postpone Heathcliff, I was really distraught because I've been working up. As I said, I've put on 9 pounds. It doesn't show, because muscle actually weighs 3 times as much as fat. So that if you put on that much muscle, it's the equal of that much fat. So it doesn't show as much. But I've at last had to give away some of my T-shirts. They got a little tight under the arm. I thought, hey, it's working. But I thought when I postponed it, I was distraught. And I thought, what am I going to do? I like touring. So I said, we've got 2 months of venues that we've got booked. Let's go on tour. And my secretary wrote down I said to her, write down all my top 5 hits. And she wrote them all down. And she said, you'd never believe this. There's exactly 35 of them. And here I am celebrating 35 years. I said, okay, I'll do them all. And in fact, it's now ended up, because I want to sing something from Heathcliff, I give any of you that come to the show a taste of what Heathcliff's going to be like. It is not going to be like The Sound of Music. Some people actually said to me, well, we won't bother coming to Heathcliff. We'll let you get your Sound of Music out of your blood system, you know. And I thought, no, it's not going to... all the ballads will be like Missy Nights and the rock and roll will be like Devil Woman. That's the kind of music I do.
You're teasing me with that guitar. It's sitting on your lap there. Everybody here is waiting for you to sing. You've mentioned...
But it looks good.
I've heard you in rehearsals. I know you can play sunshine. Are you going to give us a little taster of what we can maybe expect on the tour?
Yes, well, and because it's the top 5 hits, of course, a lot of the hits come from way, way back. And there's a lot, I mean, right from the first song I ever recorded. I mean, this one I thought I'd do first is the one I've probably done this least. Move It, I've sung almost every concert, well, for Yonks, and even Living Doll and the Young One, Summer Holiday. They're all definites when it comes to it. But Gee Whiz It's You has kind of escaped a number of times. So I'm definitely going to do this one on the tour.
Okay, let's hear it.
Oh, by the way, before I start, the Shadows and I were very influenced by people like Buddy Holly. And a song like this underlines the chord progression. You remember Peggy Sue? That song? Well, I'll play the intro of Peggy Sue, but I'll sing Gee Whiz.
He's so smart.
The connection... No, the connection's there.
Okay.
Who's that walking down? Oh, 1 second, before I go. I just realised that I thought for 1 minute I was Placido Domingo. But I forgot, I told the guys I'd bring this mic across. Thank you. Thank you very much.
It was wonderful. It wouldn't be fair not to ask the fans to ask you some questions, so if that's okay with you.
You're going to ask them to ask me some questions?
Yes, I am. I'm abandoning the show over to them. Let's have some good questions. Question here from this man here.
How big an influence did Elvis Presley have on yourself in the early years?
Great question.
Well, I mean, I always say, and I've said this a million times to the press, and it has been written a couple of times, that I believe if there hadn't been an Elvis, I don't see how there could have been a Cliff Richard. And dare I say, we would probably never have got even to the Beatles, because even when you read what Paul and John say, they were influenced by the same people, by Elvis, by the Everly Brothers, Buddy Holly. That whole wave from America was fantastic, but Elvis, for me, will be, has been, and always will be the king. So it's a massive influence.
Here, here.
To retire.
Do you have any plans to retire?
Plans to retire? You think I should?
No, not at all.
I did that just to get you to say no. Not really. Sometimes I think to myself it would be really nice to just to slow down a little. There are things that would be nice to just relax and not to do, like not have to put the alarm on in the morning. But I like what I do, and so therefore I don't think I'd ever retire entirely.
Right, a couple of questions from the front.
I'd just like to ask you, when you became a Christian, was there a big transition while you were still a singer in that world?
Was there a point, in fact, when you said you were going to give up the singing and devote yourself to being a religious teacher?
Well, yes, and it was directly to do with the question, because I'd become a Christian in my mid-20s, and I'd already therefore had a career of about 6 years. And I just felt there was no way for me to be a Christian. All my friends who were Christians were all either teaching religion in schools or they were working out in the mission field somewhere. Do you know what I mean? They all seemed to be real, proper Christians. So there was this feeling in my mind that it wasn't possible to be a rock and roll singer and be famous and be a Christian. And that's when this business about me giving up, I did in fact plan to stop. But God is an incredible God, because he somehow threw things in my way and said, but you can be a Christian. You can do gospel concerts, you can make Christian records, you can do interviews, you can talk about your faith, you can be your faith, you can raise money for charity. And all of these things built up, and I changed my mind, yeah. So there were some pretty big changes, though, when I first became a Christian.
Another question.
Had you not been a singer, what do you think you would have ended up doing?
Right.
Oh, that's hard to answer, because it's so hard to look back. I wasn't brilliant at school. I was really good at school until I was 11. And then after that, I failed my... Any of you old enough to remember the 11 plus exam?
No.
Yeah. You're not, oh, okay.
Absolutely not, no.
Some of you tell the truth and some of you don't. But I failed my 11 plus, and I was absolutely very disturbed about that. And schooling for me was never the same. So I was never very intellectual and clever, and I don't know where I'd have ended up. I probably would have attempted... If I could have drummed up enough O levels, I would probably have tried to get to a teacher's training college, if that was possible, for a dunce.
We've got Deborah on the line. She's done just that. Hello, Deborah.
Hi.
Hi, what would you like to say to Cliff?
Hi, Cliff.
Hi, Deborah.
I was just wondering whether you think you'll ever get married, or do you set it a bachelor?
Right, I don't know if this is a proposal, Cliff.
Was the question, will I ever get married?
Will you ever get married? Do you think you'll ever get married?
Well, I was talking to a journalist today and saying that I hadn't actually wiped it out of the foreseeable future, but it's not something you can write in your diary, is it? You can't actually say, hey, I'm going to meet someone next week, fall in love, and get married a month later. So I still think to myself, well, if it happens, it's going to happen, and that's the way it'll be.
Have you been close to it ever happening?
Only 3 occasions in my life have I said to myself, shall I get married? And in each case, I've answered myself and said no. And I guess that was probably the best thing I did, because I probably would have made my possible intended wife unhappy.
Do you think that's because of the absolute focus that you have on your career, this relentless focus, and some people have said this very obsessional focus with getting it absolutely perfectly right?
You may be right. I think psychiatrists and psychologists would have a field day with people like myself, and particularly on a subject like this when it is appertaining to me. But I don't know. I really don't know. I don't feel as though my career has stopped me getting married. I just don't want to be married at the moment. And people write to me, I've got really nice fans, and they say things like, we're really looking forward to the time when you'll be happy, married, and settled down. And I think, well, I'm happy and I'm settled down.
So,
I'm just not married.
So you think it's a lot more important to an awful lot of people other than yourself?
Well, I do treat marriage with a lot of respect. I think, unfortunately, our society doesn't perhaps treat it with as much respect as they could. And that's why our divorce rates are so high, which is really unfortunate. Because don't tell me that people actually get married just to get divorced. They don't. No. It's one of those things that happens in life. And maybe, again, the psychiatrist might say, and I'm being my own psychiatrist here, maybe it's...
You're allowed.
maybe it's because I think to myself, well, I would dread to make that mistake.
Right.
Because you make not only yourself unhappy, but your intended, and if there's family, the family suffer. Even friends are touched by it. So maybe I'm just too cagey.
Joanne is on the line. Hello, Joanne.
Hi.
Hi, what would you like to say to Cliff?
Hi, Cliff.
Hello, Joanne.
I'd like to know, do you get fed up with being called the Peter Pan of Pop?
Yes.
When were you first given the label?
I was given the label a long, long time ago, when in fact I was the Peter Pan of Pop, because I was only about 18. But it's an unfair... I kept hoping that someone like Michael Jackson would take that role off me, because it's not possible to stay the eternal 18-year-old. It just isn't possible. I'm 54 this year. I don't particularly want... I know, isn't it disgusting? But the whole tone of the show is being lowered. But it's a difficult thing, because, I mean, even when I go shopping in my hometown, I always get the feeling when people bump into you, they kind of do that. And they're trying to see where the cracks and creases are, you know. And it's very unfair. In fact, I was at a Top of the Pops once, and I was being made up by the makeup woman, and as she was making me up, she was getting closer and closer, and I promise you, she must have been 4 inches from my face, going like this. And I said, what's the matter? Have I got a spot come out? She said, oh no, she said, I'm so sorry. I was just looking for the scars. So there's this expectancy,
but Cliff,
which is very hard to
that's a reasonable point. I mean, you've just said that you're aware of people kind of doing that. I confess, I did it. When I met you today, I looked and I thought, damn, he really does look that young. I mean, it is sickening. It is sickening. It's sickening. I've got more wrinkles than you. You know, it is sickening. What are you doing here? You doing the old facial exercises, a little bit of night cream?
No, but I've read about facial exercises. You know, I mean, you read about liposuction and facelifts and things. I mean, and I'm a bit of a coward when it comes to scalpels and all that. Although I did take, when Gloria Hunniford interviewed me, she said, have you anything against facelifts? I said, no. I mean, if my career was going to go on and I was going to end up being 65 singing rock and roll and people were taking photographs of me, I wouldn't want to have a photograph of this saggy, floppy mess.
Right. And
so therefore I might do something about it. At the moment, I'm all right, thank goodness. But if it started to come off on my pillow at night, I think I might have to look down.
Let's get some more questions. This man up the back.
Hi, Cliff.
Yeah.
Out of all the songs I've recorded, what one's given you the most pleasure?
Right, great question.
Oh, you know, again, I'm a non-writer. I started off writing with the Shadows and then lost the habit very early on. But I've therefore had to rely on being given great songs. Kirsty was mentioning about, could I sing a bit of Missionites? Missionites is really hard for me to sing on a guitar because it was totally orchestral. You know, about 40 strings, 4 double basses and stuff. That gave me a great feeling of satisfaction. But then, on the other hand, I still think that my personal favourite record of all the recordings I've ever made is Devil Woman. You know, great funky... my kind of rock and roll. I'm not going to sing anymore. No, well, Kirsty said sing Mission. I've never tried it. Well, I don't have to play the... I don't know any more chords.
Okay, while you stop, because there's a whole row here about to burst into tears. We'll get some more questions. What would you like to say?
Cliff, what's the most valued gift you have received apart from your dogs, and do you keep them all?
Right, it's a good question.
I've kept my dogs. I don't know, it's really hard because you get a lot of little things. I remember a long time ago, it's gone, I don't have it anymore. It kind of fell apart, but someone gave me a key ring, and I've never seen one at that time like it. It had a little button you pressed, a little light came on, and those were in the days before, you know now when you shut the car door, quite often the light stays on for 10 seconds, and in the dark of the garage you can see your way to light. This was, to me, the most unbelievable gift. I could actually stand there in the dark and light, and put the key in the keyhole and not scratch all the paint around it. So that was one of the most interesting and best presents I had. That lasted me years.
But let's talk about the money thing, because you've got loads and loads of money now. You've made lots of cash. You give lots of your money away, but what do you do to enjoy yourself with your money? You a big spender on cars or...
No, I mean, I've got good
clothes?
cars, but for instance, my Rolls, which I bought, I've had that for 13 years, so I feel I got my value out of that one. And I've had my Mercedes for 4 years now, and I should probably have that for 10.
Do you know what I'm angling at? I read somewhere you give yourself £35 a week pocket money. Is that true?
It's £40.
£40.
Yeah, but you have to remember, that's merely to have some cash. Because like the royal family, people like ourselves, we tend to, you float around with a credit card, and it's you don't have money. It's embarrassing something not to have any cash. So I get myself £40 in cash, and quite often, I promise you, I don't spend it because the credit card has become our way of life now. I mean, not just for me, but for all of us. It's so much more convenient to pay for the grocery bill, or if you buy a shirt or whatever it is, it's so much easier to flash the bit of plastic and get it done that way. So that's a bit misleading.
Right. I'm glad about that. I was feeling very guilty when I learned that Cliff Richard only spent £40 a week. Let's go to the phone lines now. Leslie is there. Hello, Leslie.
Hello.
Hi, what would you like to say to Cliff?
Hi, Leslie.
Have you ever thought about going back into the career of making films again?
Making films again.
Well, I must say I did enjoy doing the movies. I loved the whole period of time was fantastic. I made a lot of new friends. I met lovely Eunice Stubbs, Melvin Hayes, Richard O'Sullivan. I mean, people who became stars in their own right. And we had a great time doing Young Ones and Summer Holiday. It was just fantastic. And I only stopped doing them because I got the feeling that I was constantly being given scripts with either I was going to start a youth club or I was going to go around Europe in a red bus. And you know, I had done both those things, and so until someone actually takes me seriously, I can't see any point. It's very easy to make a bad movie. It would be easy to make a really duff old movie, and for me, I'd rather make one good album than, say, 5 bad movies.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Claire is in Irvine. Hello, Claire. Claire, what would you like to say to Cliff?
Hi.
If you could have one dream to come true, what would it be and why?
One dream to come true, what would it be and why?
Well, it would be silly of me not to say what everyone should say and would say at this point. The dream for real world peace, which would come through understanding each other, really understanding, and having one common factor and one common goal in life. I'll say no more. That would be the kind of dream. That is the cliche answer, and it's only a cliche because it's a fact that most, if not all of us, want that to happen. But realistically, and at this point in my life, my dream would be to have number one hit every year from now on.
That's a great, honest answer. There was a woman here, one of the people we have hanging from the rafters, that said, can you ask Cliff this question, because I'm not properly in the audience, which was, what do you make of the young groups around just now? She was saying she'd been to see Take That in concert in Glasgow, and that she enjoyed the concert until the end of the show, when they started stripping off. What do you make of young music now, and what do you like?
Well,
what
Take That's a good example of a band who obviously worked really hard. They sing really well, they look good, and whenever I've seen them appear on television, it's obvious that they have worked really hard at entertaining us who are watching them. And I thought, well, hats off. You know, if this is the new groups coming up, this is fantastic. I'm not sure. Maybe it's bad advice. You know, the end. I didn't see the show, so I can't really say. But if you say that that was what they did, I only get disappointed. Nothing. Does that shock you? It doesn't shock me. Bare bums on stage. What does it mean? It just means flesh on stage. To me, it's not really shocking, and I'm not quite sure that if you have all that amount of talent, which they do have, and the writing ability that he has, you don't need that.
Right, another question from the audience.
When you're not busy working, what do you do to relax?
Right.
At the moment, I found a new way of relaxing. It sounds ridiculous, but since I was going to do Heathcliff and I wanted to put on some body weight, I started doing a workout session in the gym, weight training, and I've actually grown to enjoy it. I look forward to it. Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays, 2 hours each morning of Monday, Wednesday and Friday, and I actually enjoy that. But of course, my first love sport-wise is tennis. And when I'm on tour, for instance, when I'm not actually on stage, what I do is plan the day so that I can get a couple of hours on court with a professional and just hit tennis balls. I just love that. I find it very therapeutic because I'm not that good at it. So you have to concentrate and wipe away all the worries of whatever might be going wrong with the show, and you can really relax into it.
We've got a few seconds left. 35 years have been. How many years ahead? Are you going to give up within the next 5 years, 10 years,
Kirsty,
take a rest?
I don't know about what's the future, because if someone had said to me 25 years ago, will you still be around in 1994, I would have thought no.
Right, but you are. Here you are.
And
Thank you very much for joining us today. We had a great time. Bye-bye for now. Thank you. Thank you very much.